Startup Weekend is an opportunity for anyone who's curious about entrepreneurship to experience the full startup process inside of a weekend, inside one weekend. It's fairly intense, but that weekend is supported by world-class practitioners and mentors. So it's an environment, it's a protected learning environment that helps you experience the full, every facet of the startup experience or the startup process, but in a heavily supported and mentored environment. So that's the standard formula for a startup weekend. So anyone who wants to experience that startup process. What we're doing differently this time in Auckland is we have decided to single out 2 or 3 problem areas that we would like the startup teams to focus on. And so this is where the concept of themes come in. So for this startup weekend, we've singled out education as a problem area that we would like startup teams to explore, get to know, find pain points in there that they can execute on. So that's generally the rationale behind having a themed event. Is more about which problem area would we like to focus on to generate solutions for. So this year it's education and social enterprise, and our sister organisation in Wellington is focusing on the environment. So they're declaring sort of environment as a general problem domain to explore. And to make sure that we get the best out of the weekend, we've also created a few staging events to help people get into the right frame of mind and get the basic vocabulary and the basic tool set in play before they get to the next startup weekend. So I think what we've sort of seen in Auckland is a few repeating patterns. And so we find that with startup weekends that have a broad spectrum, so like it's random, anyone can pitch any idea anywhere. That's, the advantage is that yes, it's a bit divergent, we get to explore lots of different problem areas, but we are interested to see what narrowing that beam might do. So that's kind of a broad spectrum approach up until now. What we're interested in doing is narrowing that beam to have 100 entrepreneurs, 12, 13 executing teams concentrate on a specific area. Let's see how deep we can go into those problem areas, because one of the realities that we're facing, I think as a human race, to sound dramatic, is that a lot of the problems we're experiencing are complex, which means that the pain points that you see on the surface, which is often what the most immediate startups try to respond to, are actually connected to much deeper issues. There's something happening underneath, and we don't often see that. So I have a really, one of my favorite quotes that sort of highlights this for me is an old Arabic saying that says, for every 1,000 men thrashing at the branches of a problem, there's one striking at the root. And so that sort of rings true for me for startups. Is for every 1,000 startups thrashing at the branches of a customer problem, there's one striking at the root. And you can't build a large business on a branch. You want to get down to the root of the matter. And so I think with the startup weekend format that we've had so far, it's been really good at getting teams engaged with the problem tree. But we're really interested to see what will happen when you ask them to explore a bit more deeper down the causal chain. Like, those are a few symptoms, but underneath that, what's actually driving those symptoms? And maybe there's a business opportunity at that level. So it's more about impact at scale, and we know that the formula tweak is to narrow the beam, to have them focus in a more intensely in a specific area.